Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Quick and Healthy with Mr. G. Today's Quick and Healthy is going to combine some items that are two different dishes, really, that are not necessarily known to go together. We're going to start with something that's Italian in nature, and this is gnocchi. Now, gnocchi is an Italian dumpling made from potatoes and flour, and they're actually not unhealthy. They're 0 grams of fat in this particular brand of gnocchi. Now, you can make them homemade, but for the sake of being quick, we're not going to do that today. We're going to be making a pre-packaged type of gnocchi. They also have a little bit of fiber, 2 grams of fiber, and they're not real high in calories. A serving is 170 calories. Now, this is a very simple dish to make. You can probably see already I've got some cabbage, and you're thinking, cabbage, gnocchi? Well, it's just like cabbage and noodles, or fried cabbage and noodles. Now, frying cabbage is also not particularly always that healthy, depending on what you fry the cabbage in. I start by frying it in just a little bit of grapeseed oil. And grapeseed oil is actually a very healthy oil. It's got the right types of fats that our body needs. We're also going to use some fresh ground pepper, 1 whole onion, and we're going to start out by making our fried cabbage and gnocchi dish by taking our cabbage, and you can see that mine's already been cut in half. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and cut that down into larger rings. And you can see that falling off. And these will separate in cooking. And I've also got the pieces here that are the larger pieces that were from the base of the cabbage. I'm just going to chunk those up here a little bit. You may have some cabbage that rolls off the sides, and you'll just want to cut that into fairly sizable pieces. They don't have to be that small, just strips. And I like to use a good bit of the cabbage. Now, I didn't have an entire head of cabbage, and this is fresh cabbage that was just picked recently. You can buy cabbage at any supermarket. So we're going to get this into small pieces, like you see here, and we're going to dump it here into a bowl for doing some light frying with our grapeseed oil a little bit later. We also want to prepare our onion. Now, our onion, we're just going to want to cut that also into the same types of rings that we had on the cabbage there. I'll move that aside. I'm going to peel the onion first. Take off any of the outer peel that's got the sort of like a paper where the outside of the onion is. And we're going to peel that first, then we're going to cut that into the similar rings. And then we want to boil our gnocchi. And we don't boil this gnocchi for very long. The preparation instructions say 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to go right about 2 minutes, because then this is going to all go into the oven and be baked for a very short period of time as well. So we're going to cut these into circles, and then I just halve the circles and throw those in there as well. I'm going to finish preparing this. I'm going to move it over to our frying pan, where you can see how I will caramelize the onions a little bit and fry it all together, giving it a nice brown coloring. And then we're going to boil our gnocchi, and we're going to assemble it all, and I'll show you what we come up with. Okay, here's our cabbage prepared, and as you can tell, it is fairly sizable chunks, and that will cook down though when we fry that. And let's get to that right now. Okay, I'm going to be using my electric skillet. I've got some water boiling here for the gnocchi, and what we're going to do is we're going to coat the bottom of the skillet with just enough oil to basically just coat the bottom of the skillet. Like I said, we're going to coat the bottom of the skillet with some grapeseed oil. Let that heat up a little bit. I'm going to heat that to 350 degrees, and then I'm going to start to dump in my cabbage and onions. Now, we may not get this entire bowl of cabbage and onions in there, but you'll see as it cooks down we can add to it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up the gnocchis and get them boiling in my boiling water here as well. Let me turn that back up. I like to add a little bit of grapeseed oil to my boiling water as well. It'll keep the gnocchis from sticking together as they fall down through the oil while when we pour them in here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead into the hot grease. I'm going to add our cabbage and onions. And you can hear that starting to fry already and sizzle. Let's put some onions in there. Now be careful that that doesn't splash too much. And this will brown up real nice. I don't know if you can hear me over the sizzling here. Again, this is at about 350 degrees. I'm looking for some more onions in the bottom of my bowl over here. You can see those are pretty sizable half rings as well. I'm going to get this all fried up nice. Now, while that browns on the bottom, we're going to cover it to build up some steam, and also to keep the splashing to a minimum. Also to keep it a little bit quieter so I can talk. Our gnocchis are starting to boil. When I was growing up, I'm half Italian, or actually I'm quarter Italian, and my grandmother, who's Italian, she called these gnocchis, but I'm hearing the pronunciation is gnocchi. So if you're Italian, and if you know if it's gnocchis or gnocchi, sometimes I think that maybe a gnoc is the single one and gnocchi is plural, meaning all of those potato dumplings together. I've got a baking dish ready here that I'm going to put those into very shortly. We're going to let this fry up a little bit, and when it browns and starts to caramelize, I'll show you how that looks a little bit closer. Okay, I've drained the gnocchi, and you can see that I've left some liquid in there, some of the water. And why do I do that? I didn't drain them completely. I did that because I wanted to absorb that liquid while it bakes. Okay, as you can see, my cabbage and my onions are taking on a nice golden brown color, and they're just about ready to go here. And I'm going to take this. This is about half of what I actually prepared, and I'll probably add some more here. But I'm going to take this. I'm going to add this to our gnocchi. So I'm going to take this and start to dump that into the gnocchi here. And what you're going to do next is you're going to stir this all up real nice. And like I said, I'm probably going to use quite a bit more than what I've got here. I'm going to about double this amount. We'll let that cook a little bit longer there. And I'll show you what's next. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ground pepper. And we're going to want to grind on there just as much pepper as you might like. I like mine sort of peppery. So there we go. And now we're going to stir this all together, and then it's going to go in the oven at 350 degrees, but not for very long, only for about 15 minutes, and it'll be completely ready to eat. I'm on to my second batch of cabbage and onions here, and I just wanted to tell you, you don't want your cabbage and onions to burn. You just want them to get nice and golden brown and just soften up a bit. It doesn't have to be overcooked. And I think that's just about ready to go in. And there it is, ready to pop into the oven. We're going to want to cook this on 350 degrees covered. So I'm going to cover it. And like I told you before, I'm only going to bake this for about 15 minutes. Put that into my hot oven. 15 minutes later, I'll take it out and I will serve some up and show you the results. Well, it's all done, and man, does this look delicious. I cannot wait to have some. Look at that. Oh, fantastic. Make sure to stir it up real well so that you get a nice mixture of the onions and the cabbage and the gnocchi. And there you go. That was fantastic. I'll tell you what, I told you a little bit earlier that I'm part Italian. I'm also part Czechoslovakian. And I can remember my great-grandmother and my grandmother always making fried cabbage and noodles. Now, the way they made it wasn't very healthy. They oftentimes would fry their cabbage in bacon fat. So I just wanted to set out to try to make a dish that was similar to that, but a lot healthier. And by combining the Italian gnocchi with the fried cabbage that's fried, instead of in some kind of a lard or other animal fat, fry that in either olive or grapeseed oil. I used grapeseed oil because, well, olive oil doesn't quite fry as well as grapeseed oil. It tends to break down a little bit easier under lower temperatures. And I came up with this dish here, and I hope that everybody out there really enjoys it. I'm Mr. G, and I will see you next time right here on Quick and Healthy with Mr. G. It really is great.